Pals where the game begins. Betting on sports with our expert spins. From football fields to courtside drills. Punt Pals podcast, we pay the bills. Punt Pals, your win and play. Join us now every sports day. Tips and picks, they never fail. Punt Pals podcast, set yourself.
Yes, hello and welcome back to Punt Pals podcast. My name is Robbie Vaughn. Nick Ristovic in the house with us as well. Hello, Nico. How you tracking there today, mate?
Great, man. Beautiful day's weather here in Perth, and I'm chomping at the bit because Freo are taking on Hawthorn tonight, top four clash, and I'm going to the game. So I'm very much up and about. Mate, how you going?
I'm going pretty good. I've been a busy week at work, brekkie show, all that sort of stuff. You'll be happy to know I chatted with Patrick Voss yesterday, and he's primed.
Well, he'd want to be after the old gastro last week. Took too many tablets, I believe, was the diagnosis. He cost me my multi. He didn't kick a goal, so he better fire up.
Yeah, he better fire up big time. Well, he was firing out last week, so that's what probably got him in the end. No, it was good to see him back in the team, mate. It's been a really big week. How are things in your world? Obviously, you're into your second and a half week of fatherhood with your second child. How's it all cracking at that?
Well, mate, it's been good. Zero sleep, of course, as most new dads would testament to, but I think it's been pretty awesome so far. Obviously, I've been busy with the launch of Belmont next weekend, mate. We open there, so busy down there taking photos, getting all the assets ready, making sure we launch there. But it's been pretty busy, mate. The mother-in-law's still in town too, so she's been really great help for us in making some elite sticky date pudding for dessert throughout the week too, so I can't complain.
Oh, sounds like she's listening at the moment to give the sticky date pudding a bit of a shout out there.
Oh yeah, mate, she could patent that and do wonders with selling that. I reckon she'd be rich, but no, it's been good, mate.
Nice. Well, if racing falls through, sticky date puddings at the markets at your local could be the way to go. The family business.
100%, mate. Nah, it's been awesome. And you've been out and about, I believe. I've seen lots of your social gear. A few premieres, mate, in the last week, I believe.
Few
Whispers on.
premieres. Yeah, it's been a busy week. I went to the UFC on Saturday night, actually. That was really cool. And it was great that it was headlined by two West Aussies as well. Yeah, we had Quillan Sekield in the second last fight and then Jack Della Maddalena, which I'll go into a little bit later. But that was a really good night. RAC Arena absolutely pumping. Monday night went to MJ the Musical, a little special sneak preview of that with Ilario Grant, who plays Michael Jackson. Tell you what, Nico, it's going to be a great show. I'd be taking the lovely along to that if you can get a babysitter.
Yeah, you reckon it's worth the price of admission, mate?
I reckon it is absolutely worth the price of admission. It doesn't come cheap, but no good things do. And the guy that plays Michael Jackson, he is just pitch perfect, sings his songs in an elite fashion. And, mate, the moves, he'd rival you on the dance floor.
Yeah, Lana didn't get a cheeky gig, mate, with her sort of vocal abilities either at the premiere there.
She was there, but she did not get her hands on the microphone, much to her anger, because she would have loved being there just pumping out those songs.
Oh, I bet, mate. I will see some of her gear at the Pink Ladies function later in the year at Belmont, no doubt, mate. So,
yes, I did hear that's coming up. She's very excited for it. She'll be belting out a few tunes, and she'll be pretty pumped to see this brand new Belmont renovation as well. I'm pumped to see it. I can't wait. What is it? A week, 2 weeks away?
next Saturday, so Saturday week, we will launch the $8.5 million renovation down there at Belmont. And it's fair to say the roof is not leaking anymore, mate. There's plenty of good big screens down there to watch the footy, and it's going to be an entirely different race day down there for the punters when they rock up in a week's time.
There's a little bit of nostalgia in a leaky roof, so I don't know. I might be a bit sad about that.
Yeah, that's it. No more Bunnings buckets catching the water. So we've moved into very much the 22nd century, mate.
How funny is that? Now, we do have a huge show. Obviously, we've got to go through last week's bets, which had mixed results. We've got a hero of the week. We've got your racing previews as well. Of course, we're going to talk about all the AFL games and the headline act, the big one, the 100 to 1,000 challenge. Are we back on track? We're going to find that out.
Absolutely, mate. I can't wait. Can't wait.
It's going to be good. Hey, before we get into it, by the way, staycation at Crown for me this weekend.
Brownie points wrapping up, or what's happening there?
Friday, Saturday night. I got a voucher for a job I did a while back for the UFC, and we thought, you know what, there's not much going on this weekend. Alana's not working. Let's go and treat ourselves.
How good's that, mate?
Bloody brilliant. Bring the kids down, mate. We'll get them in the pool.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. Might have to with the baby just on a floaty or something, mate. But Van will get amongst it.
How old till they can swim?
Oh, mate, we'll get him in there early and just sort of see how they go.
Love it. Love it. Yep. Sink or swim, that sort of stuff. Mate, I got some listed questions as well, actually. I can't overlook those because there are some rippers this week. I'm going to start them off for you.
Yeah, kick us off, great man.
All right, we'll go one for one. So you have touched on this a little bit already, but I think it's an interesting one for the punters. And Crago from... Where's Crago from? He said, I see Belmont Horse Racing is launching next week. What can we expect from winter racing in 2025?
Good question. Good segue into it. So obviously we race at Belmont from the middle of May right through the end of September in Perth. So racing definitely continues post the Spring Carnival and the Quokka, of course. And generally, mate, it's great quality racing down there. The track's in cherry ripe condition and it's good from a punting perspective. But off the course, mate, we've done some pretty massive renovations down there at Belmont. There's 9 bars down there, 3 super screens, a massive new screen on the infield where you'll be able to watch all the racing action live. You probably see it from the moon, mate. It's that bloody big, but it's going to be awesome. So we'll definitely get the footy crowds down there pre-AFL games at Optus, and I think the vibe, the crowd, it's going to be entirely different this year. So everyone's a little bit more excited than they normally are when it comes to winter racing.
That's so cool. It was probably long overdue for a bit of a renovation, but it's amazing what happens when they get Nick Ristovic in there. What is it, 2 weeks and there's a whole new track?
Time to my run, but not important for the members to have a facility where they, want to frequent rather than just waiting for Ascot. And it's free entry down there, so you can attend any Saturday. We race on Wednesdays there pretty frequently too. So there's always some sort of racing and punting act you can get amongst down there, mate.
That's great. And I think it's an underrated venue because it is actually so convenient. Like it's a lot closer into the city and all that sort of stuff near Optus Stadium. So I'm looking forward to a big winter. It should be really good.
Well, no lines for beers either down there, mate. It's pretty hard to get a beer around Optus when you're pre-game. So with those 9 bars there, I'll be hitting each and every one of them just to make sure the quality control is in order there, mate.
Well, you're a man who makes sure that his product is good, and I respect that from you, Nick Ristovic.
Thanks, mate.
Oh, also, good parking there. It's usually like $20 and you can park and walk across to Optus, and that's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, AFL days, $20 parking. Other days it's free to park. So always a good spot to rock up. Watch a few races. If you're going over the footy, feel free or grab a feed or a beer before you head over.
Beautiful. All right, more questions. Got anything for me, mate? Have you been doing your research?
I do have a couple of zingers for you, mate. And, I must touch on the fact, mate, you are our resident Grand Prix expert. And
I love it.
F1's back, and we haven't heard anything from you. So Ross here from Como said, F1 is back on the weekend. You haven't spoken about it in ages. What's going on, mate? Are you off it or what?
Oh, come on. No, I'm not off it. They're off themselves at the moment. That's all we can say. Because what happened was, Nico, I don't know if you realise this, but they had a 5-week break after Japan, and that was due to the fact that Saudi and Bahrain both got cancelled for obvious reasons. They can't really race in the Middle East at the moment. So they just cancelled the races. So we had 5-week break. No one's really talked about F1. I'll be honest here, completely fair. I forgot the race was on last weekend. I just didn't realise it crept up. So usually I do a blog for like Tab Touch and that, but didn't do it. Didn't even realise it was coming up. So
I didn't hear anything about it either, so you're not the only one there.
And it was only probably the Thursday where the news started to pop up and I went, oh, okay, that's happening this weekend. So back into it now. Watch the replay on Monday and, we're ready to roll for the next race in Canada, which isn't this weekend, the one after.
I'll be looking out for your tips, mate. You've been on fire when it comes to Grand Prix. Top threes, the smoky bets, I like them to finish in the top 3 too, usually a bit of value. So stay tuned, folks, because Robbie will have some good gear coming up. The next one's Sally from Jollymont, mate. And this one's a little bit closer to home for you. Obviously, there was Whiteboard Gate this week. The photo of the whiteboard was leaked. Obviously, Ben Mackay was referenced as punching above his weight. The highlights, the lows, the weaknesses have been exposed. Mate, was it a bit of a storm in a teacup? Were the lines harsh on the Dons players? What's your take?
I think it was a bit of a storm in a teacup, to be completely honest with you, Nico. I think every AFL team, and not just AFL, but amateur teams, would do this. They expect it to be private. I reckon the guy that leaked it is a bit of a tool. I don't know if you heard him on SEN, but he basically said it's their fault. They should have done a risk assessment. They didn't tell me that I shouldn't have leaked that. You hear that and you go, where's the common sense? So I don't think there's any issue. It's a storm in a teacup. But one thing I will say, were they harsh on the Bombers or were they not harsh enough? Mate, the way we've been playing at the moment, I think they were generous, to be completely fair. So good on you, Brisbane. Points to you on that.
Yeah, look, that's it. It's been going on for 20 years, mate, the old whiteboard review, so it's nothing new to see here for mine either.
And actually, funnily enough, I was chatting with Paddy Voss, as I said, this morning, mate, and he actually told me that they used to do that at Essendon anyway.
No doubt. Everyone's been doing it, surely.
Yeah. So, no, it's all good, mate. I just wish the Bombers would win a few games and Benny Mackay would make a bit more of a fist of things. Actually, a bit less of a fist of things. I don't know if you've seen, but he keeps, rather than going for the mark in the back line, he punches it when it's not contested. It's bloody
And he gets the
annoying.
Bronx cheers when he gets a possession or a mark. He's on tender hooks down there at the Dons, mate. They're all into get him up there at the moment, the fans.
I feel for him a little bit now, but at the same time, he's really got to lift his game.
100%.
Speaking of lifting the game and being at the top of the AFL echelon, this is one for you. Now, this comes from Dave. Dave's from Balcatta. Freo fans are already booking plane tickets for grand final weekend. Apparently, fares are going through the roof. Have you rolled the dice and booked something with one of the airlines yet, Nick Ristovic, as a Freo fan?
Ooh, mate, I'm tempted. I've kept my powder dry. I really do see how Freo stack up against those top 4 teams at the moment. For me, the litmus test comes when you play the quality, and I'll certainly be keeping a close eye on the flight prices tonight if we knock off the Hawks here in Perth, because I think they'll be in the pointy end, as will we. And I need to get the brownie point to the misses across the line. So I've got a lot of Crown Steakhouse to book in before that one, mate. So we'll see how we go.
Oh, you might have missed the boat, though, by that point. I mean, you're on the big bucks, so you'll probably be fine. But you know what? They're getting pretty expensive.
No doubt, mate. No doubt. No, I'll try and drive across another bar if I have to.
All right, let's have a look at last week's betting. Now, in the AFL, how'd you go?
Mixed results for me, mate. As we run through it very briefly here, it had the Freo Western Bulldogs same game multi, and it was Amos for 2, Tracy for 2, Voss anytime, Bont anytime, Bolton anytime.
Yep.
And I think Amos is still probably dirty on me after paying him out in the potty last year, because he's been kicking big bags and he went goalless, mate.
Yeah. What's happened there, mate? Tracy just said, I'm going to get the job done this week.
Well, I think, they do rotate the strike a little bit, but it was an off week for Amos. Didn't really see the ball at all. Bolton kicked a goal. Bont kicked a goal. Tracy kicked his 2, but Boss had the shits, as we spoke about before, and took 12 gastro stop tablets and didn't even make an impact. And then Amos obviously fell short by 1 goal. So that 360, a price went begging by 2 out of 5 legs missing, mate.
Spewing. I had a lot of near misses on the weekend, by the way, as well. So I think I had about 4 bets where I missed by a leg. And the Port v Adelaide, the showdown, which was an epic game, by the way, was one of them. I had Zach Butters 30 plus. You can tick that. Darcy Burn-Jones and James Peatling, both 15 disposals, ticked them off. But I also had Josh Rachele for 15 plus disposals, and I think he came in at 14 at the end, so I just missed out on that $2.15 multi, which was really disappointing.
That stings, mate. Yeah, I had a couple of 1 possession losses myself over the weekend. One I did have some success with was the goal scorer multi in the Geelong versus North game. Jeremy Cameron 3, Shannon Neal, Big Cowboy Neal 3, and Paul Curtis anytime. That saluted at 420, which was a nice collect.
Well done. Very well done. It's tough to get a multi at the moment. I'm thinking about moving over to the green tab the way I'm going. They have that thing where you just, if you miss by a leg, then you get the bet paid out.
Yep.
And that's me.
Points bet, you can remove a leg at half time. So there's a few little options if you're that way inclined.
Yeah, actually, that points bet where you can remove a bet at half time, it's not very good, because you can only do it on their over and under bets, and you have to do the 5 to 25 bet to use it as well. Unless I'm doing it wrong.
Well, could be the case, mate. We'll have to dive in and have a look a bit more detail, won't we? A couple other things to mention, mate. We talked about Carlton being very good at halftime and then completely shitting the bed in the second half, which they did again. 275 at halftime for Carlton to lead. Had a lot of messages from the lads over the weekend who backed that one after the potty. So that was good. And then, mate, West Coast Richmond, Dersma 18 of 20 cost us that multi. And then my South Australian Derby tips were pretty shite. It was a $41 ball over in the Derby with Wigmore saluting, which pretty much wiped everyone out.
How good was the showdown, though, just before we move on? Because, mate, I don't know if you watched it after the Freo game or if you just sort of turned off the TV after that, but I saw the last 15 minutes or so. One of the best last 3 minutes of footy that I've seen in a long time. Like, it swung from either team winning 3 or 4 times. It was magnificent.
It was incredible. And we talked about it extensively last week. You were very keen on the Crows. I thought it'd be a borderline result, maybe Port winning. They came off a good win the week before, and the fans got their money's worth, didn't they?
They really did. It was great. And in that last minute, when the ball finally got back into the Crows forward line and they got it done, it was pretty cool. So that was a great game and we love to see it. Mate, should we move on to Hero of the Week?
Yeah, I think we're due, mate. Let's do it.
Are you ready? Let's see if we can see a few heroes around.
I can be your hero, baby. Don't be a hero, mate. Heroes of the Week.
Oh, yeah, Heroes of the Week. And we've both identified one each this week. I'll jump in first with the boy from Broome. He was the co-headline at UFC Perth, or the co-main event. It was his first main event. He's a boy from Broome, Quillan Salkeld, doing WA proud with an amazing knockout in the second round over Benil Dariush. He was such a legend. He put on a show. He's given himself the nickname the inventor of sex, and I believe it. I believe it all the way because he is the man.
What a name, too. Sal Killed as well. It just fits in the UFC nicely, doesn't it?
Isn't it great? Yeah, he's big ticks everywhere. He's doing great things, and he deserves a Hero of the Week. Shout any from you, mate?
Yeah, just quickly on Quillan. I watched a fight from home. You were live, obviously, great man. But, geez, he's a tall, imposing figure as well. Very long reach, long legs, kicks well, big knockouts. He ticks all the boxes, doesn't he?
He certainly ticks all the boxes. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how far he can go. Obviously, blokes like Della Maddalena have gone on to win world championships and all that sort of stuff. So can Quillan do that as well?
Yeah, I think he can. Well, what he's showing us so far is pretty explosive. My hero of the week is Perth Scorchers' own Aaron Hardy, who's got a big fan base over here in WA. I'm not sure, you probably wouldn't follow the international T20 tournaments, but the Pakistan Super League final was on over the weekend, and it was a cracking game, mate. We had Glenn Maxwell in there. We had Marnus Labuschagne, Babar Azam, some big names, and Aaron Hardy went absolutely mental, man. 59 off 39 balls, got his team over the line, including 9 boundaries, and took 4 wickets as well. And he becomes the first player in a final to take 4 and score a half century in international T20 cricket. So it was pretty impressive.
That's a great effort there.
Yeah.
As a Hardy. How good's that? We got him back at the Scorchers next year. We've signed him.
I hope so, mate. After that performance, his money might have just gone up.
It could have. Well, he played very well last year as well. Like, he was really up there. I think he was 6th highest run scorer for the tournament. I don't know about the end, but for a lot of the tournament he was. So well done, Aaron Hardy.
Two good noms there, mate.
2 very good noms. We should really be keeping a track of these and putting him in the Hall of Fame or something like that.
Yeah, leaderboard.
Leaderboard. That's exactly right. I do think, I'm just going to throw it out there, and, you know, it's not something we have to act on today, but I do reckon we do need to establish a leaderboard of some sort. Like, I've seen other podcasts who have, like, the Backman Award, and, you know, others follow Brownlow, like their own Brownlow votes and stuff like that. I think we need to definitely put our heads together and work on something that we can run.
I think that's a good concept, mate. The Punting Hall of Fame, even, you know?
Punting Hall of Fame. I don't know. It's one for the planning meeting, man. You know, those ones we have every week.
Over the beers.
But I reckon we sort of establish something over the next few weeks as we move into a bit of AFL chat here today, mate. Now, this is an interesting one because this is your team, and I'm going to let you go through the a full rundown of this. But if you're listening on Friday, this game's already done. We're recording this Thursday, Arvo, so I imagine a lot of people may be listening to this podcast by the time this game is finished. So congratulations if you're a Freo fan. Should I be saying that? Of course,
You
they
just put the
won
moz
last
on.
night. Look into the
Moz
crystal
on
ball.
big time, mate.
But this is a big game, mate. Second versus third. Freo
Yeah.
$1.70, Hawks 2.16. Now you're seeing it.
Yeah, well, I watched the Hawks last week. They only really fired a shot late. They were probably a little bit underwhelming, to be honest. And I think this is probably the first time Freo will face a solid test, other than Geelong game in round one, where they're going to meet an opponent who will probably take it to them quite severely, I think. You look at Freo last week, 12-point win over the Bulldogs, but the Bulldogs are pretty decimated with injuries, so it's far from convincing. And they had a few mental lapses late in the last two games where teams have closed them in that last quarter. But you look at their guns through the middle, their midfield mix has changed dramatically. Shai Bolton's now playing through there, Murphy Reid, Brayshaw's struggling to squeeze in there at times. So they look like they have a lot more attacking threats through there, and they're a lot more dynamic than they once were with Sarong and Brayshaw holding the fort last year. I think there's some danger players there, although for Hawthorn, we really need to try and keep on top of. Their forward line in particular has been very, very good the last few weeks. Their smalls are good. Ginnivan goes through there. A Wizard Watson, obviously. And then Gunston, the evergreen Gunston, who kicks big bags, as well as Mitch Lewis. So they're dangerous forward. They're very good back. Sicily and those guys down the back there. Barras, all the big names. It's going to be a tough contest, and I think Freo should get it done over here, but I'm far from sold on the $1.70 available, and I think the bookies have probably got the market right. Both teams could win tonight.
Yeah, it's definitely not a lay-down misère, mate, but I think Freo should get the job done, and if they're the real deal, they will get the job done. So I'm definitely in the Dockers camp and getting behind you for this one. You're going to the game, aren't you?
I will be up in the bleeds, mate, watching it. A big shout out to my mate, Dion Trigwell, who's given me a ticket for tonight's game and got me out of their house with the two young ones. So well done, Well done, Triggers.
Triggers? What, do you organise a babysitter too, or?
No, he may as well, mate. He's got me off the hook, so well done, Trigs.
Good on you, Triggers. Mate, we'll move on to Friday night. There's actually two games going on again, which I don't like the way they schedule this. Like, surely they can sort something out where there's an extra game on the Sunday or the Saturday or whatever. But it's how they've rolled it, and we've got Brisbane Lions and Carlton. Should be one of the fizzers of the round. The Lions paying $1.09, Carlton paying $7.50. Now, Brizzy, there's probably not a lot to say that we haven't said over the last 2 months or even 2 years about this side. They're just so good. Stars on every line. They have no passengers whatsoever. So if we're looking at this in fairness, they should do over the Blues pretty easily. Michael Voss, it's just an interesting one for him at the moment. The Blues are 1-7. They're really just hanging on by a thread for the whole existence, it feels like, at the moment.
Yeah.
Mate, there's so much going on with them. There's all the behind-the-scenes stuff as well. They got that $75,000 fine for the incident there around mental health the other week, and that's probably kind of made its way through the club in negative ways, I would have thought. It can't be a good feeling around Carlton at the moment. All the speculation about Vossi, if you ask any reporter, he's going to be gone by round 16. Yep. George Hewitt still can't get a game, which is unbelievable since he won their best and fairest last year. The contrast is amazing. You look at everything about Brisbane and it's just positive, unbelievable. You look at everything about Carlton. Find me one good thing.
Mate, great summary. Covered all the main stories there, so not much to add from my perspective. But what I would say in watching Carlton that game last week pretty closely is their leaders just went missing in that third quarter, mate. Paddy Cripps, Sam Walsh, and I had them in multis as well, which hurt in the end for me personally from a bank balance perspective. But they don't run both ways, mate. They literally, if they get forward of the footy, they win, and they had the momentum in the first half and it worked well for them. That's the knock on their midfield. Bit slow, bit one-dimensional, don't run both ways, and they're in a bit of a crossroads really with those two guys. They've clearly said, Hewitt, well, you don't want to run both ways, so you're in the VFL, but the spotlight's got to be on those two guys in Cripps and Walsh as leaders to really turn that momentum around when they lose it, and they just can't seem to find a way, mate. They went completely missing in that second half, and I think Brisbane will just toy with them in this game.
Yeah,
I tend
to agree with you there,
cat and
mate.
mouse.
Cat and mouse, I should say, and then a bloodbath in the end, I would have thought.
Yeah. Well said.
Port and the Bulldogs, Power paying $1.88, Western Bulldogs $1.96, Friday night, Adelaide Oval. 5 weeks ago, we were said this was a lay down misère, but now not so sure. How are you seeing the game?
Port have had a really good few weeks.
Really good.
Definitely probably where their list is at, overperforming in my mind. I still think the Dogs probably should be favourites in this game, given that they only lost to Freo by 12 points last week and Freo at the pointy end. But Port being at home 2 weeks in a row, obviously the showdown last week, which you touched on, will help. And I wouldn't be betting in this game from a head-to-head perspective. I've struggled to kind of pin down the West Bulldogs mids in terms of possessions and goals as well for their forwards, other than Big Nordo. So it's a stay out for me.
Traditionally, I've loved betting on the Western Bulldogs for possessions, especially, but I think I'm pretty similar to you this week. It might be a bit of a stay out.
Yeah.
North Melbourne and Sydney, Marvel Stadium Saturday. So we get on to the Saturday games. North are paying $4, Sydney $1.25. Now, we'll talk about this a little bit later. I did consider Sydney for the challenge, the 100 to 1,000 challenge, but I don't know. I just feel like North do pop up here and there and actually win games they shouldn't, kind of similar to Melbourne. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think on all, if we're being even, Sydney should do pretty much what Brisbane are going to do to Carlton and really decimate the Kangaroos, but I don't quite see it happening that easy for them. Malcolm Roses, 7 goals last week. Can he back it up? I reckon a lot of the times when you see a performance like that from a guy you don't expect it from, they don't come back and do it again the next week. So I'm going to take Malcolm Roses if you can. Can you tip someone for no goals? I don't think you can. I'm taking him for
Malcolm Roses, 5 goals plus is paying $34. 6 is paying 101 to 1.
I wonder if anyone actually had him for 7 last week.
That's insane, isn't it? He's $1.23 for any time, by the way, for those playing at home. But yeah, it's funny how you can have a really big game. And the prior games, he's had 0 goals, 1 goals, 2 and 1. So he's an any timer, but he's not a 7-goaler, is he, Robbie?
No, he's not a 7-goaler generally, but Sydney Sweeney in the crowd there obviously just got him going a bit. But I reckon he might have cashed his tickets for a couple of weeks. So, I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I think he kicks no goals this week.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm actually enjoying the multis with Sydney at the moment. Callum Mills, obviously the lizard off half-back. Chatty Warner's been kicking goals as well, and he's always pretty good value for any time. They're a team I've been punting on quite successfully this year, so I'll probably have a same game, which I'll talk about a little bit later.
Interesting, because Sydney have been one of those sides that I've traditionally stepped away from a multi-point of view, because I like disposals and they've never been a high disposal team, but they seem to be fixing that a little bit at the moment, which is interesting from a punt.
Different game style, Coxie. He's running going off half-back now, and that's why they're scoring so heavily as well. They obviously lead the league for percentage, and for good reason, mate. They pile them on.
Love it. GWS Giants and Essendon, Saturday, NG Stadium. The Giants $1.08. The Bombers $8. So it's a pretty one-sided game, this. Although I would say that Essendon have been pretty putrid, but we do have little, I guess, specks of time where we go, all right, this team can play footy. So I don't know if they can extend it out. Essendon obviously beat Melbourne a couple of weeks ago, so it's in them. And the GWS are a mid-range side this year. So they could potentially, maybe not win, but the line's probably going to be about 40 points. They could make the line.
I'll find out, mate. Let's have a look. The line for the GWS game here is 44.5 points Essendon. I probably would be semi-convinced to take that 44.5 point head start at $1.91.
Potentially. I'm not 100% convinced, but I think it's not a terrible possibility, put it that way.
No, I can't see them winning, to your point, but you got to look for some value if you're going to have a punt in this game, don't you?
You do. The one thing I want to say about this game, I guess, similar to what Bulldogs have been for me in the past, and probably Brisbane as well, is GWS Giants are actually my favourite side to bet on for disposals. So I was going through the figures during the week, and they've got 4 of the top 11 disposal getters for the league after round 8. So you've got Clayton Oliver, you've got Lockie Whitfield, Lockie Ash, and the other one was Finn Callaghan. So they rack them up. They all average over 25, and they're good to get in your multi.
They are, and I'll tell you what, one guy I've been loving is Connor Iden. He's $1.61 again for 20 plus. He's gone 25, 24 last week and had, I think, 12 in the first quarter. So I'll have him. I'll have the guy off half back. Get his name now. 20 plus.
Bedford? Toby Bedford?
Nah, mate, let me find him. Finney Callahan, obviously. Lockie Whitfield is the guy I'm talking about. 25 plus for him every single game, mate.
Without
Averages
doubt.
30. Averages 30 a game.
I would love to know the last time Lockie Whitfield went under 25. Like, it just doesn't happen, essentially. It's like clockwork, that boy.
So to your point, you can have probably Callahan, Oliver, Whitfield and Ash all 20, 25 plus pretty comfortably, and maybe throw Mera and a couple others in and you're away.
The bogey for me is Toby Green. Every time I bet on that guy, he does the opposite of what his average has been. Every single time.
Cooked me last week, mate. Same thing.
Same. What the hell?
16 after 29, 27, 28, Toby Green. So he hasn't missed in his last 5 games until last week and had a stinker. He took that mark and almost had that mark at half time and then dropped it, remember? Had a stinker.
It just bounced off his chest.
Yeah, no. He's off.
He's off. He's off the list. All right, let's move on to the other expansion team, Gold Coast Suns, taking on St Kilda. $1.42 for the Suns, $2.90 for St Kilda. TIO Stadium in Darwin. So Darwin's getting their first game of the year. Gold Coast traditionally pretty good at that ground.
Very good, mate. They love the conditions, hot, humid. It's what they train in. It's what they're used to. And they've had the dish soap out apparently this week, preparing for a wet footy, and that's why their record's so good, mate. Other teams struggle, especially St Kilda, who play at Marvel under the roof a lot. I think it just bodes for a Gold Coast Suns belting here, and I'm expecting that to occur.
It's an interesting one. I think the Gold Coast have won 8 straight there at TIO in Darwin. Hawthorn, Bulldogs and Geelong are some of the teams they've played and beaten. So it's a really interesting one, mate, to see if they can extend that run. As we move on to a pretty big game, Saturday night, MCG, Geelong and Collingwood.
Yeah, Collingwood were pretty good last week, mate. I'm not
They
gonna
were.
lie. I feel sour saying it, but they were very good.
It's Collingwood are a funny team because I think at the start of the year we had them written off, and I felt as though they were proving us right for a long time. But then just before Anzac Day, they popped up and beat someone. They obviously decimated the Bombers on Anzac Day, and then they were very good last week as well. So, I mean, they're really hitting their straps at probably not the pointy end, but they're showing a bit as the season does move on a bit.
And they're well coached. I think that game plan they brought in last week against the Hawks obviously was a bit of a stifler for some of those Hawks forwards that bobbed up and kicked big bags a week prior. They did their homework. They came in well coached and got the draw. Almost should have won that game, really, Collingwood. So anyway, I think the 260 they're available for this week is a big price.
It is a big price. Do you know what? Speaking of multis and disposal multis as well, one thing that I've always done similar to Sydney is stay away from Geelong because they've traditionally been a winning side, and you'll see that they'll win 17, 18 games a year. But through their midfield, disposals have never been outrageously high. You'd get guys like Dangerfield who'd rack up 30, potentially 40 occasionally, but they're just not a consistent possession side over a number of years. But this year they've really picked that up. So Bailey Smith and Max Holmes getting 30 every week without too much of a struggle. And then a few guys around them are really sort of picking up and getting the 20s, guys like Tanner Bruin and all that. So they've become an interesting side to watch now, I think, and an interesting side for the multis.
Yeah, they have. And to be honest, mate, you're getting good value for Tanner Bruin and these guys a few weeks ago. Max Holmes as well. He was pretty good value, 25 plus. But that value's really eroded now.
You get him like $1.04 now, which makes
Tanner Bruin, 20 plus, $1.22 to your point. Tommy Stewart had an off week last week, 20 plus for him, $1.41 is probably the only one I really like for him to bounce back. But there's not a lot of value in there, mate. I'm not going to lie.
That's what happens when you rack them up, Nico. The value goes, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's disappointing.
The game's changing.
The game is changing. Melbourne versus West Coast Eagles on the Sunday. $1.10 the Ds. West Coast Eagles $7. I'm actually how does this work? So Melbourne $1.10, the West Coast Eagles $7. GWS were $1.10 or $1.08.
Yep,
Essendon $9. Based on current form, I don't see how West Coast Eagles are more likely to beat Melbourne than the other way around.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy if you ask me, mate. Particularly after what West Coast did last week, which I still really can't believe. That 20-year reunion of the premiership, the whole entire game designed for them to win against Richmond, who had 16 players injured and couldn't get the job done. They should be $17 here against Melbourne.
As a Freo supporter, what's your sympathy level for the West Coast Eagles right now?
I actually don't mind West Coast Eagles, man. I'm more a parochial WA football supporter. They're my second team. I don't hate them. I just think they're in a rut. Sorry, Elliot Yo, you are in a rut, and you got to pull yourself out of it at some point. And I don't see that happening on Sunday.
I love it. I love it. Measured from you.
Yeah.
I'd love to know how you really feel.
Take it offline.
Final game for the round, Richmond versus Adelaide. Sunday, MCG, $5.75 for Richmond. Adelaide, $1.14. Look, if I'm being honest, it's probably in about the right time. This is not a Showtime game, the Tigers and the Crows at the moment. I don't know. I don't really know what to say about this game. I think Adelaide should get it done pretty easy, but they could.
Be your point, mate. Richmond winless until last week. Now they're $5.75. They should still be $7, $8 in my mind. They've only just scraped over the line against the West Coast Eagles, who are pretty shizer.
Yeah. I guess it gives you a little bit more value for Adelaide to the tune of 4 cents.
Well, Crow's at 35-point line at $1.90 looks pretty juicy to me. Even $1.99, 40 plus.
Yeah.
Looks pretty solid.
Yeah, it does. I think, if anything, I'd be taking that. Yeah, I don't know. In Richmond, as you said, they're kind of a VFL side at the moment. There's not a lot going on there. So I think it was 17 injuries, 16 injuries.
Yeah.
You think Adelaide Crows come in and absolutely dominate. So
yeah, they
I don't know if there's much more to say about that game. Should we roll into our multis for the weekend?
Mate, we've got a couple of crackers here, I reckon. And after last week, I think we were pretty close, landed a couple. So let's see if we can go a clean sheet this week.
Let's do it. Now, we'll start off with yours. It's Freo and Hawks. As we said before, the majority of people might be listening to this now. The game's finished, so they can actually follow along and see how correct Nick was. What are you going on for this game?
Sarong 21 possessions, Brayshaw, Bolton, Impey, Amon 20, Jordan Clark 19, Reed 18. Left the goal scorers out after getting burnt last week. $4 for that, mate, which I thought was good.
Beautiful. I sort of had a look at Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the end. So I ran with Brizzy, Lions and Carlton for the Friday night. This is a 5-legger, all paying $3.25. All disposals. I had Lockie Neal for 30 plus. I think he should dominate against that Carlton midfield. Will Ashcroft 25 plus. Ollie Florent 19 plus for Carlton. He's been doing that a lot lately. He's averaging that 23-24 mark. So I think that should be a nice little leg there. Levi Ashcroft 19 plus and Josh Dunkley 16 plus disposals. He had a quiet one last week, so I think he'll bounce back.
Yeah, juicy, mate. You're getting 325 for that. Nice.
325, I like it. What else you got?
As we move into multi number 2, Sydney versus Roos. I told you I like betting on Sydney, and they're playing a different game style, and for that reason, it just leans into a couple of possession multis. And the Lizard off half-back, 20 plus for him. Callum Mills coming off an injury last year. He's been a 20 plus of the last 5 weeks in a row and go again. Sheldrick, they love the ball in his hands. Very, very good by foot. 15 plus for him. And then the old boy, Darling, anytime. Paul Curtis, anytime for the Roos, and Sydney to win, $4.
Love it. That's nice. As Sheldrick 15 plus is a good leg. He's doing 20 every week.
Yeah, the odds still haven't really caught up with him, to be honest, Robbie. He's not getting 25s, 26s, so there's still a bit of value around for him.
Excellent. Well, in my next one, you talk about the odds catching up with players, and one of my guys in this has definitely been caught up after some big weeks. So this is the Giants and Essendon game, 287 for 6 legs. It's a 25 plus disposal mega bet. Finn Callahan, Clayton Oliver, Lockie Whitfield, Lockie Ash, Zach Merritt, and the boy I was just talking about, Archie Roberts, 25 plus. He has the second most possessions in the AFL after round 8, just behind Nick Dacos. He's flying. There's a lot of ball going down that way at the moment to the Bombers' backline, so he's just been able to run off half back and rack him up. So all those 6 boys, 25 plus.
Yeah, I love that, mate. It's easy to follow too, right, for the punters at home.
Exactly right. There's no guessing. How much did I? Oh, how many possessions was Ash? How many was Oliver? It's all 25.
And yours are $2.50 to about $3.40 here. So they're a pretty nice little hitting zone if you start to layer them up together too, mate. You got one more
100%.
Richmond versus Crows, right?
Oh, yeah, I've got one more. And, do you know, I'm not actually that interested in this game, so I probably should have left it. But here we are. I've got a 5-legger, $2.75. Miller, 20-plus disposals. I reckon he is going to be out for blood this week after almost kicking the winning goal against Port. But then, did you see this? So, Rochelle gave away a free on the line, and that would have sealed the game. Obviously, they went back and forth after that. Jaden Short and Jacob Hopper, 20-plus. Jordan Dawson, 23, and Josh Worrell, 17.
Yeah, I like it. Adelaide always just seem to get stiff, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They
Crazy.
do. Remember the
Like,
Sydney game that cost them finals?
Yeah, and just there's been about 4 or 5 decisions where they've been stitched up in the last couple of years. They need to go and I don't know, get some positive juju going somewhere and lift the curves.
They're still paying for the training camp in 2017 or whatever it was, 2019.
Oh, mate, it's just crazy. I think there's that ball chip technology they were pushing for to make sure if the ball hits the post, it's actually called, or if it's touched. They're championing that, I think, at the moment.
Well, it can't be worse than the ARC system.
That's right, mate, exactly. Bring it on.
Now, mate, this is your specialty. This is where you really shine. It's racing. I haven't been keeping track of things lately. Since the Quokka, I've kind of dropped off racing. I usually give my brain a bit of a rest at this time of the year. But Belmont, I might ramp up a bit, given that it's going to be a big winter there. So what do we got this week?
Well, Robbie, before we get into the racing quickly, just wanted to tell everyone that Robbie's been doing a marvellous job with the multis now on our Instagram page. So everyone can jump on and look at what the legs are. So a quick shout out to your great work there, mate. And it's making it a lot easier for people to follow. So get on those. And obviously when they salute, you'll see the green tick go up and sort of see how we travel across the weekend. But racing, mate, it's obviously my full-time job now. So I've got no excuse other than to invest time in looking at the form.
If you're not picking winners, there's problems.
Exactly, mate. I shouldn't be in a job, should I? But it's a pretty interesting time, to be honest. There's still plenty of good racing around. We've got the last Saturday in Perth here at Ascot this weekend. As we move to Belmont next Saturday, Morphettville hosts a Group 1 race at the Goodwood. We've got Ray Magnerio and Talk & Co, 2 runners in the Quokka that'll be going around there. Talk & Co obviously finished a really nice third in the Quokkas. We're really looking forward to seeing that race. And then in Gold Coast, there's the Hollandale Stakes, which is an amazing race. You've got Melbourne Cup winners in Knight's Choice, Half Yours, and Pride of Jenny going around there. So there's 3 really good races across 3 good tracks on the weekend to keep an eye on. And I've got a couple of bets, mate, to push out across the weekend. Outside of those races, there's a horse called Bustling, which is a WA horse. It won 4 of its 5 starts here in Perth. It's come off a really nice trial, and it's a good price of $4. 2 first-up efforts for 1 win, and it looks cherry ripe for this. So that's pretty good odds there for Bustling. It's usually a $1.80, $1.90 shot, so I'm keen on it.
Love it.
And then the racing multi, which all the punters love. Gold Coast Race 7, Half Yours, get on. Melbourne Cup winner, very good last week, first up in 1400-metre race, was never there to win. Good to blow the cobwebs. We'll go here over 1800. I think he'll win at about 390. Ascot Race 8, Malatia. It's won 2 of his last 3. It's about 290. I think put that in the multi. And then last but not least, Morphettville Race 8, Tycoon Star. It's about 260 for the place. Roll those 3 together, mate. Half Yours to win, Malatia to win, Tycoon Star to place. You're going to get $22.30 to win.
I just had to sound that trumpet for such a good multi, mate. 22.30. How good's that?
Yeah, 2 winners in a place, mate. And I think, just absolutely have a look at Half Yours and that horse Bustling in Caulfield, race 6 as well at $4. You should have a pretty good weekend on the punt.
I'm getting on those straight away.
But that's,
get some winners at the track. Could be nice.
It's kind of the entree, really, mate, to be honest, the racing bets and the SGM, because we're back in a big way when it comes to the $100 to $1,000 challenge. We obviously saluted last week. We've just left the goals wide open for you, mate, and you've just got to send it home now and get us to 1,000. And I believe in you.
All right. Well, do you want to just do a quick little recap of how we went last week in the end? You end up putting $200 on.
Yeah, put $200 on it, 204. We got back up to $800 with 3 head-to-head results, and they were all about $1.18, $1.25, and really easy watching all three, to be honest, Robbie. Wasn't in the end.
It seriously was, mate. You got it done. You should have put the whole lot. You should have just taken us through to 1,000.
I kind of want to, mate, I'll set you up for that last one. I want you to take us home. So just being conservative so we had some money in the kitty. But we're now at 800, so we just need to just find something here, mate, in my home.
I'm feeling the pressure. I would have preferred it if you had just taken us to 1,000. But anyway, that's all right. We'll get the job done. It was a little bit of a tough assignment to actually find the value this week in the head-to-heads. But there was just one that really stood out to me. So I'll go through it with you. I'm going to take a 3-legger. So what do I need to bet, actually? We're up to 800 now, aren't we?
Yep, 200 on, mate, to get us there.
200 on. Okay, so this is paying $2.02. So we'll put $200 on it. This will get us to just on $1,000. Brisbane Lions head-to-head v Carlton, $1.09. I feel very safe about that. I can't see a world where that doesn't happen. Melbourne. Surely that happens against... Who Melbourne played again?
West Coast Eagles.
West Coast. Without doubt. Lock it in, right? Yep.
So
we're 2/3 of the way there. This is the one that... Okay, so this is an interesting one because there could be people listening on Friday or Saturday or Sunday that know that this bet is done already because Thursday night footy is where our real... fortunes lie because Fremantle Dockers are paying $1.69 against Hawthorn. Now, here's the thing about Freo. They've won 7 in a row. It's the third most amount of games they've won in a row ever. They've done 8 once and 9 twice. So they're on a roll. They're playing really good footy. Everybody's firing at Freo. And this is one of those games where it does start to shape the season. You know, like... Up
100%, mate. This is
first
it.
8 rounds, who cares? You could be sitting on top of the ladder. You could end up second bottom. But from here on, the cream rises to the top. I think Freo are going to show what they've got. So paying $1.69, it bulks out our odds to $2.02, and that's going to get it done for us.
I think it's solid, mate. I mean, I look through the rest of those games. What are you going to take? Geelong Cats at $1.50 versus Collingwood's dicey. There's not much value really other than that. There's a Port and Western Bulldogs, which are like $1.80 to $1.90 evens. There's not really much to your point, mate. And I think Freo at home feels like a safe bet, to be honest.
Yep, I like it. And do you know what? I hope it is. If you're listening on Friday morning, you're celebrating or you're commiserating with us. It's one of the two. But with that, mate, I think that rounds us up. Anything else? Any other business?
No, not mate. That's pretty much all for us today. Obviously, thanks for everyone getting around the podcast. Follow us on the socials. Look at those bets. Join us in on a few of those same game multis over the weekend. And if the challenge salutes, we get to 1,000. If it doesn't, we're back to 600, and then I'll have another crack at you next week, mate. But we're going well on the punt, and continue to get around us.
Love that from you. Make sure you follow us on the socials. Subscribe on your apps as well, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And we'll be back next week. Gamble responsibly, of course, as well, Nick.
Absolutely, mate.
Punt Pals, where the game begins. Betting on sports with our expert spins. From football fields to courtside drills. Punt Pals podcast, we pay the bills.